Hello there, welcome to part 2 of my Blender to Unity tutorial. This is part 2, which is going to be the texturing piece. Now, something quite terrible happened during the first take of this part 2. I used a capture tool called Debut, which generally speaking, I've had great success with. It did not get on well with GIMP at all. It seemed like pressing buttons and clicking it was as if the capture operation was overriding some sort of mouse click, and I ended up getting in a right state. So this is the second take, and what that's meant is that I've actually made some changes to this Blender file that I should quickly go through. They're already done, but hopefully if I explain them to you, you'll understand what I'm talking about. What I noticed was if I just go to the corner piece by just clicking on the eye there and tabbing it into edit mode, this block here, if I just grab that on the X, was over here, so it's kind of overlapping the other tunnel piece there. So what I did was I clicked on UVs, selected all UVs and pack islands, and it's moved those guys over there. Oh, by the way, I found something out. Control A selects all. Let's just do this. Let's just click one and then do Control A. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. I was told a lie. Okay, so let's just select all. And what I will do actually is I will scale that down a touch. There we go, and just grab that on the X and move it across. Okay, so we've got a little bit of bleed room around the edges there. That's good. And I will also do the same with the crossroads. Let's just bring that. Click on the eye, so that's the only one visible. Had the same problem with this. It wasn't exactly like this, but if I just grab it on the Y, GY, these guys were overlapping like this. Okay, so I did the same thing. I did AV, UVs. I think I've moved these around a bit, but I did pack islands. There you go. That's what came up. I'll just Control Z that, so they're like that. So basically everything is separate, and that's good news there. Okay, so let's start off by texturing our tunnel straight. Okay, we don't want this crisscross shape here. We want it to look more like a tunnel. So what I will do is I will. Another thing you're going to notice is I've got a few files. No, I haven't. Good. It's cleaned it all up for me. So what I will start off by doing is clicking in, and I'm going to create a new image. No, let's do it here. Let's do it over here. Let's do it with the plus key. We'll create one. What we'll do is we'll call it tunnel straight diffuse, and that's the kind of standard name for a the texture image, if you like, the main texture image with all the detail on it. We're going to make it 2048 by 2048, which is nice and large. You can scale that down if you wanted to do it for a mobile platform or whatever, but I've noticed that when I took this into Unity, you need a nice big texture if you're playing on a PC with a half decent resolution. So let's do that. Click on OK, and what that's done is that's assigned the mesh, the object, to that new diffuse texture, which is exactly what we want. Now, what we'll now do is we'll export this tunnel straight diffuse image, and also we'll export these UVs. So let's do that first of all. UVs, export UV layout, and you'll see here I already had a file called tunnel straight UVs. Okay, which was 2048 by 2048. That's fine. Let's create that now. I know it was already there, but we'll do it again. And also let's save our tunnel straight diffuse. Save as image, tunnel straight diffuse. That wouldn't have been there before, but it's unfortunately, like I say, I had a bit of an error the first time around. Okay, so we've got ourselves a very black looking, pointless looking diffuse there. So let's start adding some textures to it. Slide on into GIMP and open it up. I'm going to open up tunnel straight diffuse.png. There it is. There's our 2048 by 2048 image, and if I slide back into that folder, if I just grab that and no, not you. Okay, documents, Blender, tunnels. It is the tunnel straight UVs.png, this one here. Now I have a feeling that I made the cardinal error. Let's have a quick look. Let's drag those in. If I just can you see that? Let's just add a white texture so you can get a better idea. Let's add a white layer. Okay, we'll just drag that down to the bottom. Can you see that it's kind of got a grey look to it? That's because it's filled in the gaps with the opacity there. So let's just delete that, and we'll delete the layer. That will even delete that layer, and we'll call this one the base layer. and go back into Blender, UVs, export UV layout, and down here you can see the fill opacity. Let's just set that to 0 and click export again. And if we go back into our browser here and now import it into Blender, by shift left click and drag in, it will add it as a new layer. And it is exactly the same as it was before. What have I done? I'm pretty sure it is. You can see it's got a grey texture. Let's have a quick look. See what I would have done wrong. UVs, export UV layout. I've called it tunnels.png. Interesting. Okay, tunnel straight UVs.png. There we go. Right, now, one more time. So you probably saw that while I was doing it. Bring up GIMP. Bring up that folder. Drag it in. Okay. There we go. You can see the difference. If I just click on the original one, you can see it's got a grey box. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but when you're using it as a reference point, it can be a little bit annoying. So let's get rid of U and keep U, and we'll just rename these. I'll call that UVs. Okay, so we have ourselves a white texture which is way too bright. So what I'll do is I will start thinking about what the base colour I want is, and I'm going to try something like a little mild light grey. Okay, so if you just click on this the colour picker, and you've got a whole raft of options here. You can adjust the red values, the green values, the blues, the kind of the brightness of it. And I'm going to make this a sort of a grey like that. That looks pretty good to me. And I'll use the bucket fill and fill that in. Okay, that's possibly a little too dark, isn't it? Let's brighten that up a bit. Let's try something like that. Try again. Bucket fill. Bang. Yeah, it looks. Again, you can play with this until you're. There we go. I'm going to do one more time. There, that'll do. That'll do. Okay. Now, one thing. This is the really good thing about this, because I've named that tunnel straight diffuse. If I just save this, we'll save it as tunnel straight diffuse.xcf, which is the GIMP format. That allows us to keep the layers. Yes, we'll replace it. Like I say, you won't see that. Okay, and then what we want to do is we want to export this back to the tunnel straight diffuse.png, which, if you remember, is the file that we exported from Blender, and it'll probably ask us to replace it. We'll say yes, we do, and click export. Once you've done that once, you can just click Control E, and it will overwrite the existing file. And now what we can do is we can go back into Blender. And if we go over to the image window and just press Alt R, it will reload it. Okay, and you can see obviously this is very bright at the moment. Let's bring that across. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just get rid of the properties and tool windows. You can see this. One thing you'll instantly notice is it's kept the UV lines. So what we'd need to do is, before we ever export it, is just unclick it, unclick the eye, do Control E. Back to Blender, Alt R. Okay, but it's a very flat looking image at the moment, isn't it? That's going to need some work, so let's crack on. The first thing I like to do is kind of add a little bit of kind of a blur, like a gritty texture to it. I'm not the greatest artist in the world, so I kind of like to try and do things a little bit more procedurally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some noise, some RGB noise, in fact. What I like to do is I like to yank these right up, like so. Okay, and that gives us a sort of a grungy texture, doesn't it, that you can see a little bit more interest. And I will now desaturate that by going to Colors, Desaturate. Take your pick on which one you like the best. I think I like the average. Okay, let's click Control E. Okay, now let's go back in here and do Alt R. And it looks a little better. It's kind of a bit weird, huh? What we can now do, so we go back in here and do filters, blur, and blur it. That makes it a little less noisy, I suppose you could say. It takes quite a while to export this PNG because it's 2048 by 2048. You see I do this a lot. I bounce around a lot. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? A bit more realistic. Possibly too big, if you know what I mean. These lines are too big. So what we can do now is we can go to Filter, Map, Small Tiles, And what this will do is it'll create kind of like a 2 by 2 in this case, 2 by 2 image, so 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll quarter it. And if I just click OK, we end up with a much smaller set of pixels. Now if we all go in here again, Alt R, that just looks a little bit more realistic to me. I mean, obviously it doesn't look like much at the minute, it kind of just looks like a big white blur, but bear in mind there's no shadow, which we'll add to add a bit of realism to it later. Okay, for now that's good enough for the base layer. I like that, but what we need to do is we need to start adding some kind of detail to it. And the first thing I thought was it's a spaceship tunnel. Spaceship tunnels have kind of like often have a gutter that runs along the middle section. If it's tab in, I'm talking about this section here. What we don't have at the moment is a way of knowing what that middle section is. So what I will do is I will go back into GIMP. I'll get my UVs, and what I'll do is I'll go to the paint tool, click on the color, and just start knocking through some colors and just marking that in red, say marking that in green. I'm just doing this for fun, right? You can see, just so I've got an idea of what's what. Got black here, let's do black there, and yellow. Let's do that one there. Okay, of course I made a bit of a mistake. I'm going to do all that again, but I'm going to do it on a separate layer, not the base layer. I'll create a new transparent layer. We'll just call this color ref or something like that. Color ref. Okay, and then click on that, and then do the same what I just did again. So click on the light blue, put it in the middle, that one, do it at the top, and do that one there. Red, next one. Okay, and pick a greeny, something like that, and do that one there. And then finally, I don't know, what haven't we had yet? Or magenta, pick that over there. There's one here as well, isn't there? I'm messing around now. Yellow? I've had yellow. Gosh, no, it's too similar to the previous one, so let's not do that. Let's go for, I've run out of colours. Something like that, that'll do. Okay, yeah, bit close, but there we go. Say OK, do Control E. I know the UVs are there, but that's fine. So let's now, if we do Alt R now, we'll get these rather weird looking color references, but we can see it's the light blue one, which is this middle one here, is the one we want to use for our vents going down through the middle. Okay, or grate, I guess you could call them, couldn't you? So let's add those in. Now what I did was I went to a wonderful website called cgtextures.com. If you haven't heard of this website, then it is a lifesaver for it's not a lifesaver, it is the resource to go for all sorts of very flat looking images to use. I don't know what happened then. In your gaming tools. Now I think I used one like this. Let me just show you which one I had. Okay, let me find that back in my folder here. It's not there, let me quickly find it. Hi there, sorry about that. It took me a little bit of time to find it. It was in my downloads folder. This is the one here. If I go, can I view in large? Never did quite work out how to use Windows 8. Let's do large icons. Extra large icons. There we go. This is the guy here. CG Textures is great. I think if you for free you get a certain amount of downloads that you're allowed per day. If the premium one gives you access to much larger images. And I think unlimited downloads, but for my purposes, the occasional download is more than enough. So let's click on this one here, and as usual, we'll follow the same rules. We'll go into GIMP, and we'll bring this bad boy out, and we'll shift, left click, and drag in. How are we doing? Let's get rid of the color ref. It's obviously a bit too big, so let's scale that layer down. I want it to be in the middle of these two here. We're going to have a few of them, I think, 2 or 3. So let me scale that layer down. Again, this is a bit of play work, but let's try it. Do things as percentages for now. Click on %. Let's try 60. Okay, and GIMP will kind of work it out for you roughly what it should be. Control mouse wheel makes it bigger and smaller. Not quite enough. I'm going to try 50. So let's do Control Z. Layer, scale layer to 50%. I think that's perfect. I think that's perfect. So what we'll do now is we will use the move tool. I like to click move the active layer, get that roughly in the right position. So this is the wonderful thing about the UV layout. You see, it gives you instant access. And then what we'll do is we will duplicate it, and I'm going to move it across by hand. Earlier on I used the mouse, the cursor keys, but now I'm going to do it by hand for speed. You can see that. How's that? Okay, so we're going to have 3 per row, so I clearly need to push that out a bit. How's that? That one. And the final one, this one. Let's take a step back. I'll just click a different layer. What do you think? That's alright. You can, again, it's like I say, I'm doing this for speed. You may want to get these right. Let's quickly get rid of the UV layers, and then we'll do Control E. Back into GIMP, into Blender. Excuse me, I'm going to be making that mistake a lot. Apologies. I'm back in there. I had to pause it briefly. So as you can see, I have created 3 sewer. We've got to call them grates or whatever, walkway grates. So let's save that. Let's do Control E, slide into GIMP, do Alt R, and here we go. Okay, apologies if you've already seen this. Alt R. Oh yes, I'm in object mode. Okay, that looks pretty good, right? Okay, but one thing that's fairly abundantly obvious is that it looks a little far too flat on the image, and what we can do is create what's called an ambient occlusion, which adds some shadow to some of the edges particularly around the ridges here. So let's do that now. What we will do is we'll tab in here and we'll create a new image, and we'll call it tunnel straight AO for ambient occlusion. Okay, and if you're not sure what that is, just stick with me, it'll all become clear in a few moments. Click that, it'll be black. Okay, let's just click on here and assign it to the tunnel straight AO for now. Okay, and it'll be back again. What we need to do is we need to set some settings up so that it does a decent bake of the ambient occlusion. Again, baking might be a word that's unheard of to you, so in which case just bear with me. What we can do here is if we can click on the is it the world display editing, and we'll click on the ambient occlusion, and we'll set the samples to something like 10. Okay, if you do any less it gets grainy, but it's faster. Bear with me on this. If none of this is making sense, it will all do very, very shortly. One of the things that I've noticed is that, well, let me show you. Let's try a bake now. So let's go into the little camera here, go to the very bottom and minimize. You may see the bake selection here. Okay, we want to bake the object selected. Just make sure that's right clicked and click on ambient occlusion, and let's try it out and see what happens. Just bang the margin right down. Doesn't need to be something like 8 is fine. Let's click on bake, and I think I know what this is going to look like. It's going to look like a mess. Yes, it is. Okay, I'll let this finish. Bear with me. Okay, welcome back. Yeah, as you can see, that is absolutely terrible. It took me ages to work out why this was. Despite the fact that you can't see the crossroads or the corner, these little camera icons here mean they are still being added to the bake. So what we can do is actually unclick those, okay, because we're just going to be baking the ambient occlusion for the tunnel. And if we click bake again, things should look a whole lot better, and they do. Again, I'll just pause this while it's gunning, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and you can see now that it has actually kind of created some ridge shadows here. You know, if we added some more indents on the side, you'd see some shadows there, but this is going to give us a little bit of definition. So what we'll do is we'll save this. Let's save as image. Again, tunnel straight AO, lovely. Let's save that. Okay, and let's just reassign this back to the diffuse by clicking on there and clicking tunnel straight diffuse, and that brings us back here. Okay, so let's go back into GIMP and we'll import our image. Where are you, GIMP? Where are you, GIMP? There it is, sorry about that. Okay, we're happy with the sewer, so let's just quickly merge those down as well into one sewer layer. Merge down and merge down again. I won't call it sewer, we'll call it grate or something like that. Okay, lovely. Then what we were going to do was bring the ambient occlusion map in, so let's do that right away. Get to it over here, and I think there it is, tunnel straight AO. So if we just shift click and drag in, did that work? I think it did. Let's just click it, shift click and drag. There we go. Took its time. It's because it's such a large image. It's struggling a bit, I think, on my PC. But you can see that those areas there are now grayed over. But one of the problems, I think, is it's completely overwritten it. So we need to find a setting, an overlay mode, that's going to work with our other layers underneath. So let's go through them and have a little look. Or I'd like to just work my way through them and see which one works. I believe I liked overlay, or was it multiply? I think it was multiply. It makes it a whole lot darker, doesn't it? But let's go with it for now, and what we'll do is we'll pop the opacity down. Okay, so it's not quite so strong. Okay, let's unclick the UVs. And now you can see it's added a kind of little small amount of definition to it. So let's just quickly save that. It's made it a whole lot darker, and you can always lighten these guys up if you want to, just using colours, brightness and contrast, and we're just, you know, banging the brightness up as you feel. I'm going to go with this for now. And then Alt R. Tab out. There we go. See, it does look a whole lot better, doesn't it? It's just added a bit of definition to the what's that white line there? That's bothering me. I think that's just an artifact of Blender. It's just messing me around. But there we go. That looks a little bit more, how would you say, had a bit of depth to it by adding that shadow there. Again, like I say, but Unity will add some depth as well. Okay, one of the things I thought would be a nice touch would be to add some stripes along here to kind of, you know, give a sort of indication this is perhaps a dangerous area, or just be warning or something like that. So let's add some stripes to it. Again, I went off to my good friends at CG Textures, and I got myself some stripes. Where are they? There they are, these ones here. So let's put them into GIMP. Sorry that I keep pausing it, folks. I had to blow my nose there, and I didn't really think you wanted to be subjected to that. So let's go back into GIMP. Here we are, and let's just drag this one of these in. And it's a bit too small. Let's also check the UVs to make sure we understand where the stripes are. If that's the middle bit, then that is the these sides here. Hang on, let's put the colour reference up. So it's the purple one and the red sections are kind of like the other. I'm not explaining myself very well, but they're these pieces here, either side of the grate. So let's put those stripes in there. So we will move this fella using the move tool. Let's get rid of our colour. Now we won't do it yet. Hang on, let me just get it in the right place. It's much too. Is it too big? Is it too big? Let's scale it a little bit. So let's just layer scale. Let's make it something like 75%. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think that looks about right. So let's bring that in. We want it nice and tight up against the edge here. Not too tight, I hasten to add, but just tight enough. Put it over the edge of the UVs to make sure there's no kind of gap. It does create its own problems, which I'll come to in a minute. And let's start duplicating this layer. Okay, so I'm going to click that to duplicate, and then move it along until we find a position that we like. That looks okay. Duplicate again and drag across. Ooh. So you can do this, and also once you're happy, you can move it with the mouse keys. And do I need another one? Yes. Oh, look at that. That's annoying, isn't it? I'm going to need one more. Okay, let's do that. Duplicate and grab. There we go. That's that one done. Lovely. Oh, fiddle. Is that right? Pick another thing just to hide it. No. Up one. Up one. Now let's have a look. It's close enough, mate. This is not going to be in good shape. Let's start all the way from the left. Let's just get it right, shall we? Let's get perfection on this one. So let's click on this, click there. It's got to be down 2. Quick peek at the one below it. No, up 1. Click on that, then click on the script. How's that? Yeah, that's good enough. There. There's the next one. So that's that one, and then we want this one. Let's move it down 1. How's that? Yeah, fine. And finally this fella, which is this guy here. I think we need to move it down 1, do we? 2? 2. As soon as you do that, you realise you've gone down 1 too far, I think. Yes. Okay, and what we'll do as well on this fella is we will we'll just delete this lot. Excuse me. Let's just add an alpha layer, add an alpha channel. Okay, what that means is we can have transparency on it, and we'll just click on the erase tool, yank the size up, and just delete all of that lot. That's much too big, isn't it? Let's bring the size down. Is that big? Yeah, that's alright. Just delete until we're happy that we're not being stupid. Okay, so there we go. It's not overwritten. No, it hasn't. Right, good. Okay, let's do back to the paint layer or something like that. Right, and then quickly, let's get these. Let's add the alpha channels to these as well. Okay, and merge them down. Just so we've got one merge down. Is there there's not a merge down option here, is there? Which is a right pain. Merge down. Okay, and we'll call it stripes 1. Okay, and the reason I'm calling it stripes 1, as you'll see in a minute, is because we need to do ones on the other side. Okay, let's Control E that. It's quite good on my screen at least. The blue mouse wheel appears until it's finished. So there. Okay. Yeah, looks fine to me. Let's quickly do that on the other side. And we can do that simply by duplicating the layer. Let's get the UVs in position. Stripes 1 copy, there we go. We'll just call that stripes 2, right? And we'll move it, click on the move tool, and just drag it down till we're happy. I think that we're going to need to move it to the right a touch. Yes, we are. Okay, far enough. Let's just check on the left. We haven't gone. Yeah, let's move a bit more to the right. Keep going to the right until something like that's fine. Yeah, that's gone over okay. Let's get rid of the UVs and Control E. Wait for the blue thing to go out and Alt R. Great. This is looking like a tunnel now, isn't it? More and more. Something you'd be happy to walk in. But again, the walls look a bit too flat. You know, it's all looking a bit too one. So what I thought would be nice is to colour these walls, and you can go to town on this. You can get as creative as you like. Heck, you could even put artwork on there or numbers or something like. Get a space font and put it on there. But for now, I'm just going to put a couple of bits of blue, I think, on the wall, and I'll kind of create kind of like a little bit of wear on it, so it looks like it's been there for a long time. Although I'm not sure you get decay in space, but on this space station you do. So let's add that in now. Okay, and we'll do that by putting the UVs back in. And I know that it's this. If I bring up my color grid, color ref. I know it's the yellow and the green one. Okay, so what I did, and this is a nice little way of doing things, is click on the new layer, and we'll call this walls. Walls is fine. Was that? Yes, it's transparent, and we'll pick a color. We'll make it a sort of a bluey color, something a bit light. I can't remember what I did now. Quite aqua-y, I think I went for. Something like that. Okay, and then I made a selection. Before I do that, and this is one thing I found about GIMP, is if you're going to feather the edges, and what that means is it's going to smooth out the edges, you want to do it before you do the selection. At least that's what I've been finding. Okay, and when you feather the edges, it goes either side of it as well, so it'll become clear in a few moments what I'm talking about. I'm going to sort of select around that area there, and then I'm going to click on the paint tool. I've got my colour, and I'll crack on, and I'll literally just fill the whole of it. Let me get a bit bigger. Just dab it all in. Okay, and I hope that the feather edges has worked. It has. I want some more feathering than that. It's not enough for me. So I think I need to reselect. Let's knock feather edges up to let's try 14. Select that, there we go. Okay, again keeping an eye on the fact that we want to give it a good amount of space either side of those two lines there. Click back here, let's try again. That looks a little bit more, you'll see what I mean. I'll just zoom in a bit but you'll see that there's a bit more of a smoothness to the finish there. Okay, what that's going to look like, let's quickly get rid of the UVs and the color ref and Control E that. I think you'll find it'll look too in your face. Let's just have a quick look, hang on. Yeah, so there's a couple of things we can do. We're gonna turn the opacity down so we can see some of the background. I've actually skipped ahead a little bit of more than what I was going to actually do. So there's one other thing I was going to do before I did this, so let's do that now, and that is to make the base colour kind of give it a 3D look to it, and we can do this using a tool called normal mapping. And this is wonderful for GIMP. It'll create normal maps, and I won't go into great detail what normal maps are, but they're kind of a way of cheating the system into thinking that it's you've got some depth. It'll trick the light and the shadows on the image, saving the GPU lots and lots of time. But what it also does is create some rather nice effects to give sort of depth to a wall. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. If I just click on the base layer here, then filters, map, normal map. Now if you haven't got this, just simply type GIMP normal map, okay, and you'll find it in, there you go. Is this the one? This could be a later version. Here we go. This is a later version than I've got. It's version 2.8.x, and you can just simply copy it into the folder, I think, and then you just restart GIMP, and it'll appear as a it'll appear as one of the filters. If we just do a 3D preview, I think it doesn't look great off the bat. No. So what you have to do is you have to go to Sobel 3x3, and now you start to see, I hope, a sort of a ridge to it. If we just knock up the scale a bit, you can really start to see it there. Right? It looks terrible, but if we sort of knock it down to 3, maybe 2, 1 might even work. Let's have a little look. Something weird happened there. Yes, it only did the selection area. Thank you. Control A. Just make sure it's the base. Filters, map, normal map. Let's try again. Okay, it has made everything blue. We'll desaturate that in a second, but you can see, can't you? This looks a little bit more, I don't know, ridgy. Always bumped. But we are going to have to desaturate that immediately, because otherwise the whole thing's going to look really odd. So let's just do that. Filters, colors, desaturate. Pick something you like the look of. I like that one. I'm liking that one early. Well, that isn't too bad either. That's between luminosity, which is quite dark, isn't it, and the average. Whoa. I'll go for the average. I say nothing's written in stone here. You choose what you want to do. I'm just going to press Control S to save the GIMP file as well. Remember, there is a difference. The XCF is the GIMP file with all the layers. The PNG is just a plain flat vanilla image. If you tried to load up a PNG file, you wouldn't have all these layers if you didn't know that. So make sure you save an XCF file and export to a PNG. Okay, where were we? Let's go and have a look at GIMP now, Blender now. Do a quick Alt R. Okay. Yeah, that looks a bit better, doesn't it? You see what I mean about the walls now? They look a little bit more cool, don't they? I'm thinking that they look a bit too big, in my opinion. So we'll quickly spin back to GIMP, click on the base layer, and do the filters map. Let's just copy this layer, and we'll unselect the base, and we'll just map, filters map, small tiles. Again, doing 2 by 2. Very small now. Let's have a quick look. I mean, come on. You're not going to want any less than that, are you? Okay. But it looks a bit too tidy. So what I will do is I'm going to add some, if you like, some... why isn't that showing? Because I'm not on the image. There we go. It was showing, I just didn't have the image up though. So what I'm going to do is I'll create a kind of a sort of a wear and tear look, and the way to do that is to click on the eraser, pick a brush that's a bit kind of scattered like this one, okay, and then click on apply jitter, and you can play around with this amount. If I just do it now, it looks a bit weird. Not terrible, actually. See, this is the weird thing. Sometimes just by playing around, you hit something you weren't expecting. But what I will do is I'll turn the opacity's already down. That's good. But let's turn that a bit. No, that's the opacity on the wall, isn't it? What I was going to do is turn the opacity of the erase down. I've never worked out how to get the arrow and how to get the sort of slider tool. The arrow's a lot quicker. Right, so now if we just gently brush across there, you'll see. Have a zoom in a bit. We'll just create some, and it looks a little bit rough at the minute in terms of the way we're going about it, but don't panic because we will blur this out in a moment. Okay, let's go with that. Let's have a look. Good, and we'll just click on the walls, just get rid of it so it doesn't annoy me. Quickly pick a different, there we go. And if we just make sure we're there, let's just quickly do that. Let's quickly have a look at it. Control E, pop into here, Alt R. It doesn't look that terrible, but what I'm going to do is I am actually going to blur that layer. So just do filters, blur, blur. You might want to do that a couple of times. Okay, so you've got something that's a little smoother on the way it's done, and you can play around with this until you've had enough. So that looks pretty good. Let's quickly duplicate that and copy it onto the other. Copy it down. So let's bring up the UVs, walls, copy, move tool. Okay, and then we'll just drag that down. Pardon me. Make sure it's covered on both sides. Lovely. Select the UVs, Control E. Pop into Blender, Alt R. And we've got an interesting looking tunnel. A few things I would have done, but I'm running out of time, is I would have added something to the roof. Okay, but you're getting the idea now. I may even play with this a little bit more before the next part of the tutorial. You know, give you some ideas, but you can get the idea here. Go into CG textures, have a look around, see if anything takes your fancy. Unfortunately, CG textures doesn't have any sort of sci-fi stuff. It has some sort of metal, various metals. Hang on, where are you, metal? There you go. But it doesn't really have kind of what would you call sort of design, you know, sort of deviant art style work, but it does give you some, you know, some base textures to work from, which, you know, if you're not an artist, and I'm certainly not, you know, you can just bang this stuff in and away you go. Good. So let's just quickly do the same. Well, I may play with this after this tutorial's finished, but let's quickly do the same to the crossroads. Let's do a couple of things. Let's click it. Let's create a diffuse. Images, sorry, there we go. So we want to create so we'll call this tunnel crossroads, tunnel crossroads diffuse, and we'll do that same map there. Let's click OK. Okay, we'll save this as. Interesting. Hang on, what? I was very much expecting that to say image, save as image. There you go, tunnel crossroads diffuse, save as image. Let's UVs, export UV layout, and we'll call this tunnel crossroads UVs. I think, yeah, it's set the opacity to 0. Okay, what I will do, just because I don't have the time right now, at least not in this tutorial, is I will simply use that base texture that we had from the other one. So let's open another image file. Open tunnel crossroads diffuse. This is quite a neat feature. I think if I can just get that layer there, base, edit, copy, and then go to this one and edit, paste as new layer. Bang. All right. I'm not going to play around with it any more than that. Okay. Let's just save that, and it'll probably be tunnel crossroads diffuse XCF. Save that, and file, export to tunnel crossroads diffuse. It'll ask me what I want to replace. Yes, I do. Set with the standard settings. Click export. Okay, now if I pop back into Blender, do an Alt R, we've got our thing. Now let's do the AO as well. Shall we? The ambient occlusion. Okay, this shouldn't take long. Let's tab in, add a new one, tunnel crossroads AO, click OK. Okay, we have to remember now that this is the one that we're baking. Okay, and let's bake it out. Bake ambient occlusion, is that it? Are we done already? I think we are, we're good to go. Let's try. I'll just pause this while this finishes, 1 second. So it's just finished, and something that's bothering me early doors is that the shadows are not really what I expected. So let's just have a quick check of one thing, which is the way the normals are facing. So if I just press N here, let's drag that across on this image, and then what I can do is I can go down to here under the normals and click on the face. Yes, they are all facing out. Can you see? Let's make them a bit longer. Might explain to you. I don't know if I've explained about the normals yet, but they're important because it's effectively saying which side you should show. And if this this is pointing up, so that's the side that's kind of the face that's going to be showing. Unity will not show the non-normal side. I don't think in the free version. There may be ways around this. Let's just make that a bit bigger. Oh my goodness. There we go. That's made it a bit more obvious, isn't it? So what we can now do is if we just bring up the tools menu, I've got it all selected, and I'm just going to do flip direction. Yeah, now it's too. Now you can't really see, but let's do 0.5, something like that. You can see they're all on the inside. So let's try now baking the eclipse. Hey, doesn't look terrible, does it? Let's just try it now anyway. Let's bake it away. Bear with me. It's very dark now, isn't it? Okay, it's finished, and it's obvious that the normals are the problem, but it worked better before. So let's flip direction, at least for the AO baking, and do one more bake. Okay, click on bake, take a pause. Okay, welcome back. As you, to you guys, this must have looked super quick, so I'm pretty happy with the way this is done, apart from these weird corner bits. I don't know why that's looking quite so dark, but I'm going to live with it for now. I may have a play around with it and try and tell you why it's not done that. Let's save this. Tunnel Crossroads AO, exactly. And then we'll pop back into GIMP. I made the same mistake as I always make. And then bring that File Explorer window up. Where are we? Tunnel cross. Let's get this medium-sized icons or something. Tunnel Crossroads AO we want, don't we? I don't see it. Let's go to the larger icons. Tunnel Crossroads AO. There we go. And let's just shift drag that in there. And then was it multiply? Multiply, wasn't it? Yeah, and bang the opacity down quite a lot. There we go. Okay, something like that. Okay, Control S, Control E. Go back into here, and then we'll reassign this guy to the Tunnel Crossroads diffuse. Let's unslick that. Let's unslick, yeah, and then Alt-R. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go with that for now. Okay, you get the idea. You can certainly play around adding the gutters and the stripes, and maybe something in the ceiling, etc., etc. One of the mistakes I realised I'd made, by the way, and let's just talk about this. And this, it's a design decision you realise you make afterwards. I was getting quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Quite insistent that I had a seam in the middle. But what that's ended up meaning is that now adding kind of a texture in the middle is a little bit fiddly because it's at the top and the bottom. So just something to consider. Maybe I should have added it there, perhaps, or I don't know, there, somewhere a little bit out of the way. But there we go. I've done it now. So if I wanted to add something at the top or the bottom, I'd probably just put another object between them. Okay, so Tunnel Crossroads is done. Tunnel Crossroads is done, so that only leaves the tunnel corner. So we click on the eye, and we also get rid of that camera, so it won't get done. Now let's follow the same pattern. We'll tab in. We'll create a new image, so it's tunnel corner diffuse. Say OK. Let's image, save as image, tunnel corner diffuse.png. Thank you. And we will UVs, export UV layout. Tunnels corner, where's tunnel corner diffuse? There, no, there. Tunnel corner UVs. Okay, and then we'll go into GIMP. File open. Tunnel corner diffuse, and pop back to here. Oh. Tunnel corner UVs there. Okay, and obviously we want to delete that layer. Actually, did I even let's just see, yes, let's just delete you. No, yeah, delete the layer. There we go. We'll call that base there. How's this one doing? Interesting. Let's just Control Z. That I'm going to bring in the base from this one, aren't I? Control C. Edit. Paste as new layer, and then delete that one. Okay. Get rid of you. Let's call you UVs. Call you base. Let's pop back into here, get these ones right as well. So that's AO. I never brought the UVs in for this. Let's do that, shall we? Just to keep things. So that's tunnel crossroads UVs, that one there. Okay, like I say, we don't use them, but let's just keep them in there. If we ever need to do some more texturing, which I'm sure we will. You are in there, and we just need to we should bake the ambient occlusion for you. So let's do that now. Back into Blender we go. Just create a new one. Tunnel corner AO, and click OK. It's the centre of the tunnel corner AO. I want to, let's check, see which way the normals are facing. They're facing out. We'll have to face these back in a minute. It seems to work well for baking the ambient occlusion, but it won't work for when we go into Unity. They'll be facing the wrong way. Shall we just wait for this one to finish? It's almost done. He says, sorry folks. Doink. Lovely, that looks a bit better, doesn't it? Still got those weird corners. Okay, so let's save that. Save as image. Tunnel corner AO. Save as image. Pop back into GIMP. Let's just save this. Tunnel corner diffuse.xcf. Save that. Bring the tunnel corner AO in. Shift click and drag, remember? Sorts it all out. What we could potentially do, I can show you how to do this, is just maybe just for this one at least, just drag, just delete that. Shall I? Have we got time? I've got jitter on, yeah. Just delete it. No, no, no. We want those ones. It's just these ones we don't want. This might go terribly wrong. The opacity, yeah, see. The oh no, no, that's the size. Yeah, and the opacity up. So he's just getting a full deletion. Okay, sorry, I'm messing around a bit. Probably going to regret. Yeah, do you know I am going to regret that because I can see already I've deleted bits I shouldn't. So let's spin back in here and just drag it in for now. Okay, and obviously, and like I say, it was multiply, isn't it? Okay, actually it makes it easy to delete now because it's. Oh no, it does not. No, it does not. So I'm not going to do it. Let's get rid of that one. Control E. That's it. Yep, replace. Export. Back into Blender we go, and I think I need to reassign this back to the diffuse. So just select all the things and click tunnel corner diffuse. Alt R. So let's just pull these guys next to each other and see how they look. I'm hoping that they look almost identical. Ah, right. I see the first problem I've made, I think. Let's just quickly grab these guys and move them, see if there's any culprits, any surprises. So we'll start with the straight one. Let's just grab on the Y, just drag it down there. I'll grab you on the Y and grab you over there. No, let's grab you and put you over there. Okay, so these two are a lot darker. They're varying colours, aren't they? Or are they? Now those two are okay. Let's go top view and orthographic. Yeah, so you can see that this one's slightly, they're different. I think the reason for that is that we've probably just got the opacity set on the AO layers. Let's have a quick look differently. So let's take this one. Look for AO. That's the opacity is 77.8. So let's make it 80. Okay, and then we'll go to this one. It's 46.6. Let's make that 80. And finally this one, it looks like it's got the so that's 80. Okay, if you can like that about it, 80. Okay, and let's just call that AO. There's no save all, is there? No. Okay, now let's just do Control E of that. Control E, UVs are on. Rename that as well, UVs. Undo it, Control E. And then you. I think we can just. You do look slightly dark. It does have to be. No, maybe you're not. Hopefully we're in the right place now. Okay, bring it up here and let's Alt R. Which one have I just? Yeah, done that one. Alt R. Alt R. Hang on. Tab. Alt R. Tab. Tab to edit mode. Select them all. Alt R. And then that one. Tab. Alt R. Okay. Bit weird, but now we have something that they're all looking very, very similar. Okay. Good. Thank you for bearing with me on this. I'm going to play with these guys some more and add some more textures and whatever to the crossroads and the corner, which I would trust that you would do too. I don't think you need to watch any more of this. The part 3, we'll get these into Unity and start actually creating a real life spaceship tunnel game where you've got to escape or something like that. It won't be complicated. It won't have any real point or start or end, but you will be able to create these as rigid objects so that you can walk around them and get lost. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this. Hope it's been fun and useful. Please subscribe and like, and I'll be sure to give you the next and final chapter, which is importing all this stuff into Unity. Thanks, and see you in the next episode.